Right, 12th day of August 2021. It's exactly 10 on the dot. My name is Rev Eskin. You can call me Eskin from YFM. Welcome to Ready to Work, powered by Absa. Now, today's edition is a very special one. I'm very excited about it. I showed up in white because I'm very excited. It's World Youth Day, and we're celebrating this with you at home, of course, in grand style with these two gentlemen. Let's get straight to business. Now, as young people, we are always thinking of how to get money, to meet our needs, and of course, once the possibility of having a side hustle on top to make some extra money, or how we can even get a high-paying job to keep up with our financial obligations right after school. However, irrespective of the amount of money received or earned, through your job or your business, your own business you run, or unemployment you got from a company, your employer will not, or you as an employer, as an employee, you should be able to manage your finances in order to keep up with the financial obligations that you had earlier. While employment could mean achieving financial independence, it also requires managing expenses and practicing self-discipline with your finances, the money that you make, self-discipline with that. Poor management of money, I tell you, can have a significant impact on your financial future and well-being. You can get to a point where you rise so high in your finances, you make so much money from the job that you have, and then you don't manage it well. Mismanagement can just end you at the wrong space in your life. The Absa Ready to Work Money Skill module focuses on helping individuals like yourself and I to discover, learn, and apply knowledge and skills needed to manage our finances appropriately. So if you've been following the series of webinars we've had on Ready to Work, you know very well that we have focused and stressed so much on you making the money, but keeping it well. And so today's conversation is all about that, all right? Today's webinar is basically about money skills, as I mentioned. And earlier this week, we had some interesting engagements across our social media platforms. Shouts going out to Bellamundi for spearheading that. We posted a question out there, asked what the people thought, or you people thought, about money skills. And we got an interesting array of answers. We'll get into that in a bit. But as always, if you have any questions for the conversations we're about to have in the course of the show, kindly note them down. You can point it out in the comments bar if you're watching us via Zoom. If you're on YouTube, you can drop your comments in there as well. If you're on Facebook, same thing, just drop a like. Share the video so your friends at home can also watch it as well, and then drop your questions on there. We're adding a little bit to that. If you're on Twitter, if you're watching us and you're very active on Twitter, the hashtag is Ready to Work. Make sure you mention Absa Ghana, where you get a retweet, and then the question will definitely get to us. So I'm joined today by some gentlemen from Absa Bank. They are brothers today. They're in-house. And one special thing about these gentlemen is that they are from my school, University of Ghana, all of them. So we're going to have a very interesting conversation. They're going to touch on a few things that has to do with the conversation we're having today, money skills, and of course, touch on the essentials people should look out for when it comes to money skills. Okay, so my first guest is directly to my left. Andrew Sakoto is a senior trader, Forex, forwards and swaps with Absa. Now, Andrew is an experienced investment banker with Absa Bank, Ghana. He earned his bachelor's degree in economics and statistics from the University of Ghana, UG Legon, and holds a global MBA from IE Business School, Madrid in Spain. He's licensed a certified dealer by ACI Financial Markets Association, Paris, and is an active member of the association's local chapter, ACI, here in Ghana. My second guest today, looking dapper in his suit, is Emmanuel. He's an experienced risk management and consumer commercial lending expert. Emmanuel Nyajro. I hope I got the name right.
Yes.
He is a portfolio analyst with Absa Bank, currently managing mobile and digital lending portfolio, which actually offers mobile digital financial solutions to customers addressing their cash flow management, savings, investment, and credit needs. So definitely he knows more when it comes to financial management. Okay, he's an alumnus of the University of Ghana, BSc. He holds a BSc in administration, accounting major, and affiliate of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, ACCA, here in Ghana. So these are my guests and, of course, my panelists for today. We're going to have a beautiful conversation. I'm super interested in that. But once again, if you have any question, any suggestions whatsoever, drop it in the comment box. We'll pick them up as time goes by. Welcome, gentlemen, to today's edition of Ready to Work.
Thank you very much.
You guys are looking good.
Thank you.
International Youth Day, how are we celebrating it?
I mean, you just want to be thankful for youth. A lot of people say, like, being young is a state of mind, so I'm sure anybody can celebrate with us today. Just enjoy your youth and be thankful for having youthful exuberance and the energy to pursue your goals.
All right, Ima?
Yes, and for me, there's no better way of celebrating this day other than having to share some knowledge on how we can manage one of the key resources we have as a youth, which is the money that we make.
All right. So I chanced up on a quote by Suze Orman, an author, financial advisor, and television host, that says, financial health, all right, is a privilege that should be afforded to everyone, all right? And it starts with being willing to have the conversation while also recognizing your own backgrounds and bias. That's how we start this. But what's your take on this quote? Do you support it? Do you disagree?
If I may go, I 100% resonate with that quote.
Okay.
I think financial health and financial independence is something that should be available to everyone. Everybody deserves to live a life of dignity, a life where they have the ability to pursue their hopes and dreams and have their essential needs essentially covered. And of course, we need to be able to do that through conversations, as she mentioned, but I believe you have to even go further and be more intentional about your financial management. And maybe the last bit that's very interesting there is, considering and recognizing things like your behavioral patterns
things that affect the kind of
and your biases.
Yeah.
It's perhaps one of the more topical issues in finance today around behavioral economics, where we talk about money skills, and we'll be speaking about this more. And it's not just cut in stone. We think human beings are rational beings who make the right decision for every financial decision, but it turns out that a lot of our decisions are based on our emotional instincts and mental shortcuts. And being aware of these things allows you to adjust for that and make the more optimal decision at every point. So for example, when we talk about behavioral traits or things in your background which influence your financial decisions, things such as how you grew up, what's your worldview, do you value things over experiences, things like the kind of goals you have in life. Is it home ownership? Is it financial independence? Is it building wealth? Things like the kind of risk tolerance you have. All those things come from your background. And when we talk about things like biases, you would think that everything is very rational and logical when you are making the decision. But let me give you an example. Like when you go to a shop and there is a retail price there, and there's a deep cut, 50% off. The question is, do you usually buy that because there is a bargain that day, or the item in question truly brings value to you and you need it? That is a fallacy actually called transactional utility. There are a lot of those kind of things, and I would invite anybody watching to look into those fallacies and biases that goes into financial decision making. But all in all, that quote is spot on. It should be available to everyone. And also you need to have those conversations and be intentional about it and be aware of your specific background and your biases.
Thank you so much for that. Ima, anything to add?
Yes, so to add to what Andrew says, so that quote, one thing that quote says is that for you to begin your journey towards financial independence, one of the things you need to have is knowledge. And there's a typical African proverb that goes like, if the crocodile comes out of the water and tells you that the river is deep, you need to believe him. You need to believe it. So it is for that purpose for which we are gathered here today. And just to add, some of these biases are things that have stayed with us for a long time. I'm trusting that by the end of this particular session, we'll be able to debunk some of these biases. And for all of us, especially as African youth, to believe that gaining financial independence is possible and is something that we can actually achieve in our lifetime.
Andrew, Ima, still on you. Help me break down your day-to-day activities. I mean, your position says portfolio analyst with Absa. What does your work entail? What kind of people do you deal with? What do you come across on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so thank you very much. So on a day-to-day basis, I'll say I'm pivotal in the whole retail lending change. Basically saying that we put in place the various policies, the various procedures, governing how we want to do business with our retail customers. So we sit in that middle, interacting with everybody from the salesperson who would go and engage the customer to say, okay, you need help, we can give you, Absa has ABC loan products that can be offered to you, to the person at operations who would actually make sure that the customer goes through the right processes to be able to attain the loan. And of course, to our collections department who ensure that if you are not able to pay back the money that we've given to you, we are able to collect on them.
Okay, all right. Andrew, what about yours? Forex, forwards, and swaps.
Okay, so to really simplify what I do, essentially, I work in the products of fixed income, currencies, and derivatives. I help the typical corporation or a business or even governments. I offer them solutions in my day-to-day work, which helps them protect themselves from market risks. So let's use an example. Let's say you are an exporter, and you are concerned about whenever you export, the kind of receipts you get, the cash you get in. When you come to convert them into your local currency, there may be some exchange losses. And that is a very typical problem that we can be seeking to solve in the department I work for. So generally, we do deals for our clients to ensure they get the best prices, they have the best market information, and they also have the best solution so that they can focus on their business risks and we handle the market risks for them.
All right, great. So clearly these two gentlemen are super involved when it comes to managing your finances and managing money, of course. So to the main topic as to why we're here today, what is money skills, or what comes to mind? Or what do you know when it comes to financial management? Who goes first? I think you must go.
Okay, so let me go first. So basically, in its basic terms, financial management has to do with being disciplined with the money that you make. So let me break it down further. Give a typical example. You know, for some of these things, we might have been doing them, or we might have seen others do them, but we didn't actually know what it meant or the reasoning behind it. So typically, in my house, you see your mother call you that, okay, bring pen and paper. And then he says that, okay, go to the market. If you are going to the market, buy A, B, C, D things. You come to understand that when we talk about financial management and having financial control, it's about being able to answer 3 basic questions, which I refer to as the WWH formula. That is, what are you spending your money on? Why are you spending your money on those things? And how much does it cost you? So back to my example, your mom tells you that, okay, today we want to prepare maybe rice. If you go buy tomatoes of this amount, buy oil of this amount, buy rice of this amount. What did she say? The first W says, what are you spending your money on? You're spending your money on ingredients. Why are you spending your money on those ingredients? Because you want to prepare a particular kind of food. How much is it costing you? She's going to tell you that when you go buy oil of this price, buy tomatoes of this price. Sometimes they'll even go to a step further to tell you the kind of brand of oil or tomatoes you should buy. Why won't she just open it up? She won't open it up because in her mind, she has a specific amount of money she wants to spend in preparing this food. And so therefore, she's planning the ingredients she needs to be able to prepare the food. And that is what in simple, basic terms, having control over your money is about.
Wow. Andrew?
No, 100% I'm
100%.
aligned. Like, words that come up is planning, having control. In general, resources are limited, right? So you want to be able to manage them to make the optimum use out of them. And every activity you do in this regard can be considered as financial management. But generally and broadly, we can classify them under things like budgeting and spending, saving and investing, and things like credit, understanding credit, and making use of credit. But to even go deeper, financial management, we would like to ask why. Why are we even learning about money skills? Why should you do this? Why should you plan and have control? The reason is to get sustainable financial independence.
Okay.
So you do have limited resources, an income, a household income, and you don't want to simply, you're not only thinking for the now, you want to sustainably be in a place where you can meet your essential needs as well as your wants.
In the future.
Yeah.
All right, so I picked two things. You mentioned budgeting and a few things that are key when it comes to money skills and managing our finances. And of course, Ima also painted a big picture on the basic, understanding when it comes to financial management. But for the sake of young people watching around the world today, at what age do you think money skills should be a thing for the young guy, young woman out there? At what age should we be open to thinking about our finances, how to manage our finances? Is it when we're still taking chop money from our mothers and fathers, or is it when we start earning, or when we start thinking about money? At what point, ideally?
Okay. I won't give a specific age, but I'll tell you this. At the point when you start receiving any form of money, I didn't say at the point you start working. At the point when you start receiving any form of money, you need to plan for that money. So whether you are in JHS or SHS, especially for those who are boarders, where you are given a monthly allowance, at that particular point, you need to start. Reason being that if you don't start building these skills and habits from that stage, and you grow up and you start working, it becomes difficult for you. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is possible, but it becomes more difficult for you. But at that stage, you are not working, but you are still being given any form of money, you begin to practice with these skills. By the time you enter the job market, you're already comfortable with managing your finances.
Okay, and so this entails the three general steps when it comes to, or three general concepts when it comes to money skills. Making it, which in this situation you just painted would be you receiving it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then maintaining it or keeping it, and then multiplying it or making sure you double the fold, right? Would it apply to the same?
Yes, it will apply. You need to know that any money that comes into your hand, think of it as a fruit, and not a seed. Think of it as a seed and not a fruit. Okay. Typically, what we do with fruits is that we take it and then we consume it there and then. But if you think of it as a seed, what do we do with seed? We plant the seed. You get it? You nurture it for it to grow and then for it to multiply and yield more fruit for you. So when you think about it that way, whenever you receive any form of money, you're thinking of, how, out of this money, how can I manage it to meet my current needs? And how can I use that, what can I do to that money to make sure that it develops and replicates for you to be able to manage certain future needs that you have.
Or even maximize value like you mentioned.
Exactly.
And so you have a tight budget, and then you think about how to get the best brands to maximize value in as much as it's small. All these things still come to play. One of the most important, one of the most important things that actually comes up whenever we discuss money skills is saving, the power to save. Okay, people often say, okay, they don't save because they don't really earn much. It's been a topic forever. Oh, me, my money no they reach. That'd be why I know they save. Do you guys support that? Do you think it's a thing that must be cleared if we're looking at getting the right money skills, our attitude towards saving?
So I do, I'm conversant with that line of thinking. Usually, it comes from a place where we are talking about low incomes, low wages, and people really living, not earning a living wage. That conversation is highly important and also has to be had. And in financial management in general, I believe it's a spectrum. So if we are, it's on a case-to-case basis. If we are talking to somebody who wants to save more, we need to look at their specific situation.
Yes.
If somebody is in a bad place with debt, or is not earning enough, living below the poverty line, the kind of financial management strategies or techniques that will be applicable to them is completely different from somebody who has begun to earn, as a young person, maybe early career. Now, when we are talking about financial management in general, as Emmanuel said, it's maybe an analogy is it's like a muscle.
Yeah.
You need to keep on working it, and the earlier you start, of course, you get the benefits throughout your life. Things like living within your means, things like delaying gratification, budgeting, and being organized about money. These are not dependent on whether you are earning a living wage or not. Across board, these skills are necessary conditions to put you on the path of financial health, period.
Okay.
However, when you go into individual circumstances, then we need to tailor it that this person is highly distressed. Of course, savings is the last thing on them. They are trying to survive the day. And we need to look at strategies in that regard. But if I was to talk about let's say the young, new professional in the world of work, I would say look at it the other way around. A lot of people think how much I earn, the excess is what I would save. No, commit to an amount you want to save and then leave the rest for your spending, for your budgeting. Usually, what financial advisors would say is a healthy level of saving and investment out of your disposable income is about 10%. If you're able to put 10% away, I think that's a great start. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ima?
Let me add something to it. And this is the hard truth.
Okay.
For every young person out there, know this. There's a law called the Parkinson law, which says that as you earn more, you tend to increase our expenditure to meet that level of income. Essentially, what that law is saying is that there is no way anyone can say that that person is earning enough. Ask the entry-level worker, and he will tell you that the pay I'm being given is not enough. Ask the same CEO or even a multi-billionaire businessman or woman out there. They'll tell you that the money they are earning is not enough. So that should tell you that there is no way you will say that you are waiting to earn enough before you start saving, because you will never get to that point. Why? Because as your income is increasing, human beings as we are, by our nature, we will tend to increase our expenditure. Isn't it interesting that when we started work from service, currently the allowance is about 559. You were able to manage this 559 however you wanted to be able to live within it. God being so good, now national service is over, you've landed your dream job. That 559 might have jumped to maybe 2,000 or 5,000. But yes, so you will say that 2,000, 5,000 is not enough to satisfy you. But this is the same human being
that was able to manage. Wow.
That was able to manage 559.
But I think maybe your demands will grow.
Your demands will grow. And that is what the Parkinson law is saying. So you can't therefore say that you are waiting to have more than enough before you start saving. You will never get there.
All right, so excess returns, or let's say excess salaries, should not be a basis for savings. It starts from where you are now. It's a habit you have to get yourself used to. I mean, Andrew suggested something, at least 10% of your salary for starters will do good. While you grow, the amount, I mean, the 10%, the value of the 10% will also grow, of course, to meet your growing demands as well. Once your demands are growing, it means in the future, things might actually grow. So it's good to start now. The attitude of make our way to make our earn more before I start it. Not really work. Anyways, let's go to budgeting. And I think you talked about budgeting, right? I was. You mentioned budgeting along the line. All right. So you mentioned budgeting as a tool for managing finances effectively. Can you touch on that a little bit more? I mean, let's break that bit down. We've talked about saving, budgeting. Let's go back to the main one. I think it's the first step. When you have the funds, you have your value, you have, what's the name, the returns that you get from your salary, let's say your salary or your savings or whatever it is that you have. Budgeting, how effectively it is it? Sorry.
Okay, let's just clarify that a bit. So what even is budgeting? So when you take your disposable income for the month or the period, you want to make a plan which gives you clarity and control over the money. Truth be told, a lot of people fly blind when it comes to their finances. You don't know that a specific expense you make all the time is taking this much of your
chunk
of your disposable income. And the only way to get a handle on that is to budget. What is this budget we speak of? It's a very simple thing. It's a plan that you make. In 3 steps, I can show you how to do a budget. You simply want to classify things into relevant buckets. Usually people would like to classify into, let's say, essentials, financial security, things like goals, and then discretionary spending or even lifestyle. So just have a rough classification going on where you are putting needs away from wants, away from your financial goals, and away from things you are saving towards, like, let's say, a house or a vacation. Once you do this classification, the next step is literally put that down. You need to write down the budget. And today, there are so many options. You can use a spreadsheet, very simple, or you can use an app. I can personally recommend an app called Money Manager.
Okay.
It's made by a developer. I believe it's called Byte Flash, also I may be mistaken, but it's both for Android and iOS. And that is a good app, a very easy, user-friendly app that you can use to budget. Or you could simply go the old school route and literally put that on pen and paper. And then finally, the last step is to keep it alive. It's an active document or an active activity. It's not something you draw up now and that's the end. You have to update it consistently. So, for example, the app, it allows you to log every expense you make, and that will classify it into the various categorizations you have, and give you a good picture of where your money is going to, so that you can control it. If you think you are spending too much on, let's say, eating outside, that information will only flow to you if at the end of the month you can see that, hey, this month I made 1,000 cedis and 60% of that went into this, and I never expected that to happen. Or I didn't, if you had asked me to guess, I wouldn't have thought that's the case. So that is why budgeting is important. But generally, one thing that indicates to you that you are budgeting correctly is it actually reduces your stress. I know some people who say when they see the amounts that aggregate in the budget, they rather freak out.
It puts a lot of tension on
However, if you are budgeting right and you are controlling and you are adjusting for all those errors and you are making things the way you want it to be, you will find that now when you are spending, there's less guilt. You know you planned for it. Even when you are indulging, yourself, you are splurging a little on yourself. You have more peace of mind. You know that your money is going to the correct places, your investments are fine, your savings are fine, everything is going to the right locations. And so when you find that your financial stress or your general stress is coming down, then you can, it's a good indicator that you are budgeting right. And surely anything that is good for your financial health and beyond that, even your health, which cannot be quantified with money, surely it's a good thing. And I will encourage everyone to look into budgeting.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Now, I picked one thing. You mentioned the fact that we can actually break things down according to the things we need, how important they are, and then the likes, just so we have a fair idea where our money is going to. Ima, would it be fair to say discipline plays a key role in this as well? So let's say I budget, and then just per the example he brought up, I'm spending 600 Ghana cedis out of my 1,000 on eating out. If I want to cut down the stress I have or find space for money in my salary for something else, that would mean maybe finding an alternative. That would mean maybe cooking at home. You know, that would mean maybe finding another restaurant that will provide the same value for less. Discipline plays a key role in this, right?
Yes, it does. Let's face realities, especially as young people as we are. The point is that the budget is a plan. Now you need to follow through that plan. And you can only follow through that plan if you are disciplined enough to say that I am going to follow this plan strictly. Now, the difficulty there is that as young people as we are, now coming up, it's easier for you to be influenced. So that is where the self-discipline comes in. Because, like the example he gave, you are saying that the income I'm getting, I can't afford to eat outside. I will bring food from the house. But you go to work, or you talk to your friends and other colleagues, and they are eating outside. What do? You need to discipline yourself and say that it is a deliberate decision I have taken.
Yes.
That I need to spend within these certain levels so that I'll be able to discipline myself financially because of a goal that's what I want to achieve. So it is difficult. No two ways about it. It is difficult. But is it possible? Yes, it is. As young men and as young women out there, it is very possible for us to achieve that. And I like to use personal examples, just for you to know that these are not things we are saying out of the air or theories we are just saying for the fun of it. No, it is actually things that we've practiced and it's worked and it continues to work for some of us. So, like I was saying, national service, I go to national service, by the time we will be paid $350. From where I live, Temat, coming to work in Accra, I needed to factor in my transportation. Transportation alone would take like almost half of that $350. Not to talk of the fact that I was working in around airport's residential area. At that area or in that area, buying food outside, it's expensive. It's not a joke. You'll be spending about, the minimum we could get is 25, 30 cedis. Even to get a bowl of KK, you will get a KK very affordable, 1 CD 50 or 2 CDs. But the fish, it's very expensive. So the point is that I couldn't afford to say that. I was going to transportation. I would buy food from outside. At that time, that was when I was starting to write my ACCA papers. I had a full scholarship for the cost, but I needed to pay for tuition. How was I going to afford that? Out of that $350, I needed to take some hard decisions. So I said, okay, I'm not going to buy food outside. I can't afford that 30 Ghana CD times 5. That's 150 CDs. Multiply it by 4 weeks. He has spent like 600 Ghana out of that 350 only on food. Wow. Meanwhile, that 600, if I'm able to save it, could be enough to cater for my ACCA tuition.
And sort you out.
Exactly. So I needed to bring food from house. If I want to buy cake, I'll bring the stew from the house with the fish, and I'll go and buy the cake by the roadside and eat it.
Tough decisions.
They are tough decisions, but you have a goal. You have a plan. There's a place where you want to get to. And you need to make that hard decisions to get to that place. And that's the reality of life. You can't cut corners.
You've drawn my attention to something very, very important. And so I do budgeting. Yeah. I obviously maybe save a little bit. Let's still, well, case in point, your returns for the amount of money that you were earning. I budget and I realize the essential things I need to sustain me through all this, through your ACCA paper writing and that, would go beyond what you have or what you're earning. Even if you decide to save the entire 600. Then maybe the option of you going out to your league to find money elsewhere. That is if you cannot afford a side hustle. Going for a loan, credit, all these things come into play as well. What is credit? Let's define that since you guys are quite experienced in that. And at what point do I need credit? And how can I use credit to my advantage? If I'm a young guy, I'm working, I'm trying to write my papers and get my education going like you did, or I started a company, a small brand, and I want to maximize the value or increase my fold. Where does credit come in, and how do I use credit to my advantage? Just so I don't find myself wanting. Just because I budgeted right, I did all that, but then my expenses went beyond what I was earning.
Okay, so when we talk about credit, essentially what we are saying is that you are going to borrow money from someone. Mm-hmm. It could be from a formal organization like the bank or any other financial institution which has the mandate to do that. You could also borrow from friends and from family as well. And like you said, it is because you have a financial need that you want to bridge. And at that point in time, the only option for you is to go borrow that money. That is where you go in for credit. For you to know whether a credit is good or bad, let's go back to the WWH formula I said. What are you spending that credit on? Why are you spending that credit on that particular item? And how much will it cost you? Because mind you, you won't have free money. You might get the money free from your parents, from family, and from friends. If you come to a formal financial institution like Absa Bank, Ghana, the money comes to you at a cost, which we refer to as the interest.
Interest, okay.
So in addition to the principal that you pay, there's an interest on it. And that interest is the cost of giving you the funds. You get it? Because that fund is actually someone else's money that the person has brought to the bank that keep this money from me. At the time that I need it, I would come for it. And it is a risk we are taking on you because you are saying that there is a likelihood or possibility that this money that we are giving to you, you won't be able to pay back. So based on that, we charge you that cost. For you to make sure that you are making either a good credit decision or a bad one, ask yourself that, is the benefit that I am going to get from spending this credit on going to be equal or more than the cost of that credit? If the answer is yes, then chances are that you are taking a good credit decision. But if it's, as a young man, you feel you need to live a certain kind of life for people to say that, oh, you've arrived, you come some. And then based on that, you go and take credit to fund that lifestyle. That lifestyle, what will it bring you? It will bring you fans, people will cheer you up and all that. But will that benefit be able to fund for that cost? Imagine you are using up to 50% of your current income to service that loan. Would that be a prudent financial decision you will be making? You get it? So whenever you are going for that credit, or we are making any financial decision, ask yourself three things. What am I spending that money on, that credit? Why am I spending on it? And how much is it going to cost me? Based on that, you'll be able to assess whether that decision is good or a bad one.
All right. I'm sure Andrews would like to add something to that, but for the sake of time, I have something else I would like to find out from you, Andrews. So in the journey of me building myself with the money skills that I need to survive, we've talked about savings, we've talked about budgeting, and we've talked about the kind of things to do or things to consider when you're going outside your budget to find extra money to fund your plans in order to stay on your feet. What looks like bad credit and what looks like good credit as well. At this point, I want to find out, let's say I've gone through all that, I've realized some little cash. I'm a young man, money skills, I'm managing my money, I have it in my pocket. I'm able to save some 10K, the money there, I'm not using that money, it's not part of my daily budget. How do I multiply that? How do I invest? What kind of things should I look out for before I decide on what to do with the money in order to multiply the food or keep it going up, pretty much?
So for anybody at all, when you are thinking around multiplying your money in a sustainable way, I think one of the most important considerations is inflation. So when you do have money saved and put away, you have to note that the value of money will not stay the same if it's just sitting down, because the price of goods and services go up every year. And so you need to put that money at work to at least beat that inflation rate. And as a young person, one of the most powerful things you have on your side is what we call compound interest. You have time on your side. And so every single day you go by that you are not investing, you are literally leaving a lot of future money on the table, far more dramatic than somebody who is approaching their retirement. Because of the power of compounded interest, it really adds up. And so for a young person, I would 100% say, look into those investments that return you compound interest, that can leverage the time you have on your hands. Also, you need to know yourself. It's a very important part of investing your money. What's your risk tolerance? How long do you want to have this money stored away for? Do you have the luxury of time? Those will inform your decisions, whether you want to put the money into equities, which are viewed as risky, or if you want to put them into safe bonds, or if you want to put them into some kind of mutual funds, which is focused on a specific kind of risk tolerance or person. And those are the considerations you need to make. The time on your hands, your risk tolerance, and what your goals are. So if you want to aggressively grow and you think you have a little bit of risk tolerance, you are young, you have a lot of time on your hands, usually you see that you'll be gravitating towards equity-focused or stock-focused investments like mutual funds and the like.
You mentioned one thing that I really love, having the ability to survive without whatever investment that you want to make, and so your tolerance, with regards to time, how long you can keep your money away. At what point do we start thinking about emergency funding? Let's say I have 10K, okay, and the 10K goes into the the investment that you just described. I put it away for a whole year. I don't have access to it because the money is working for me. Where does emergency funding comes in? Because clearly if an emergency comes up, I would have to go through the stress of, hey, can I get my money back and all that? Emergencies are unforeseen. Ima, you want to solve?
If I may, it follows the same train of thought. It's a really great segue there. For emergency funds, you need to categorize them a bit differently. Okay. Your emergency fund is not your investment. And I have to make this point strongly. The emergency fund, and we've not spoken about it until now, is perhaps the most important financial foundation for everyone. What is an emergency fund? You need to have on hand, available, and for unforeseen circumstances, at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses. And it has to be available to you. So that question really is relevant. What if I've put it in an investment? That's not an emergency fund, that's your investment. So when you are financially managing your money, you need to account for that. There is an emergency fund and there is an investment. Now the emergency fund has to be available, easily accessible in the event of the emergency. However, this is a tip I'll leave you. don't leave your emergency fund on a low interest, maybe saving account. You can have the best of both worlds. For example, money market focused mutual funds. There are some mutual funds which do not penalize you for regular withdrawals. It won't have a fantastic return like some of the other ones which require you to keep in the money for a longer period. But it's much, much better than just leaving the money on the table and having it lose value because of inflation or the increase in the prices of goods and services. So have the emergency fund, and if there's an emergency and you have to go in, it's just there to serve as a base for your financial health to absorb shocks. When those shocks happen and it cushions you, you need to replenish it back to 3 to 6 months of expenses and keep it there as an earmarked emergency fund.
Yes. And so you don't play with that fund?
No, at all.
And to add to it, you need to also define what an emergency is to you.
Yeah.
So that it's not as if the little thing they are running to.
There's a new iPhone I want to buy.
Clearly define what an emergency is to you. And back to the question you asked. The moment you enter the workforce with your 2 legs like this, start planning for your emergency fund. Start planning for your retirement.
That makes perfect sense. And of course, I think it goes back to you listing the things that you need. I mean, according to the priority you mentioned earlier. And so if you know you're most likely to have an emergency, with regards to your health. Let's say you have a health condition. Then you know how important your emergency fund is. You know what is your emergency. Just so you don't get to a point where somebody, there's a new release. The iPhone releases a new one, and all of a sudden that is emergency for you because you think it's very important. You know, you need to practically define what is emergency to you, make a tough decision as to knowing what you're putting away as your investment savings, so that when there's an emergency, you know where to reach out to. When you need to make some more investment, you know where to put your money into. So it's all about planning once again, of course, following through with discipline. We're going to take a quick break. Of course, after that, we're taking your questions. If you have a question now on any of the things that we've touched on, kindly drop it in the comment box. If you are on Twitter, quick reminder, put in the hashtag ReadytoWork and it will come directly to us, all right? The show continues right after these messages.
Everyday life.
All right, welcome back to Ready to Work, powered by Absa. That's African Nasty. I'm still here with Andrew Zakoto and then Emmanuel Nyadro. I hope I keep getting the name right. So we're moving on straight to your questions, and shouts going out to all our viewers. A good one going out to Doreen Afesi, Kuchine, Kwame Ankama Barakatu, Habib Abanga, Atuesin, amongst others. But first question is from Kevin Butcher. Kevin says, how do you develop a budget when you don't have a fixed monthly income? I think we touched on that already, but just for how do I develop a budget when I don't have a fixed monthly income?
It's a great question. One thing a budget isn't is a forecast of your future income. That's not what a budget is. So it's a great question to come through. I would say you want to budget around what you are certain your current income is. So if you don't have a fixed one, you need to ascertain what could be a conservative number. So surely you know what in the past 6 months you earned. You could establish an average and maybe take it a notch lower and build your budgets from there. It's not perfect, but for people who have volatile income, it could be a sort of workaround for them.
Okay. All right. So our next question in here says, I need to find out more about debt and credit management. I think we touched on that, but debt and credit management, just a little bit on that, Ima.
So I don't know whether it's for an individual or for an organization, but let's assume it's for an individual. So like I said, whatever credit, whatever debt you are taking, you need to ask yourself the 3 questions. What are you using it for? Why are you using it to get that particular thing? And how much is it costing you? So ask yourself the benefit that you get from spending on this particular item with that credit. Is it at least equal or even more than the cost that this credit is coming to you? If you're a business, then you need to ask yourself whether what you are using the money for, is your business able to support the cost of that credit? If your business or the income that is coming from your business is not able to support that credit, then the cost of that credit, then you need to re-look at that credit you are taking.
All right. Next question in here says, what are some good websites for personal finance basics so that we can go there and learn more? Thank you. It's coming in from Comfort Riley Puko. I think before that, readytowork.absa. I think I'll get the website for you guys, but Absa definitely has the Ready-to-Work platform for all this, so maybe they might want to add some more.
Exactly. And we recently launched the Absa Young Africa Work Program for those who are especially young men and women who are trying to establish their own businesses and stuff. You could go to the Absa Ghana website and you will get access to there. There are lots of resources, networking, financing decisions that can help you to actually scale up and build up on your business.
All right, so the website once again is readytowork.absa.africa. While you're here with us, you can go on there, or right after the webinar, go out there and then check it out. Let's move on to the next question before we branch out. This one in here says, I'm getting insightful ideas on money skills. I think it's a comment. Eric Dodite. Marilyn Ufort says, Absa Ready to Work has been very exciting and eye-opening. I have a question. Can you advise on a percentage of money to use for fun and what to save? So I think when you mentioned fun, it drew her attention to the fact that she needs to put aside some money for fun. What percentage is advisable?
No, there's no, I mean, everyone's situation is different and you know yourself the best. But if there's one indicator that you want to have down to put your mind at ease that, okay, I could have all the fun I want, I would say at the very least is that 10% threshold. Make sure you are, if you could hit 20, that's amazing. But at least set 10% aside for savings and investment. And that's after you have built your emergency fund, of course.
Fund, definitely. All right, guys, thank you so much for giving us all these ideas, especially on money skills. It's been an insightful one. I personally enjoyed a lot of that. Guys, we're not done. After the webinar, if you do have questions, it's on the Absa platform. We are going to give you info on how you can stay in touch with us. These guys are still here to share their thoughts and opinion on that. I think the conversation will be moved to our Twitter with the hashtag Ready2Work. So make sure you get on there and then find out all you need to find. In case you missed anything on here, you can definitely look it up once again with the hashtag on Twitter. Guys, final words from you. I'll take yours first, Ima.
Okay. So final word for me, law, the Parkinson law.
Again.
Yeah, very, very important. As you get more, you raise your expenditure to beat that level of income. But there's another law, the law of conservatism, which says that it is not how much you earn, but it's rather how much you keep that matters.
All right. Thank you so much. Andrew?
Yeah, I would like to leave you with the fact that everybody, if you are here, you are watching this, know that you deserve a life of dignity. You deserve to have access to achieve your dreams and ambitions, but it does take a little work on your part. So be intentional, stay focused, and these same skills that you use for financial health, you will find that they are very relevant in your quest to build wealth as well.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a wonderful morning right here on Ready to Work. My guest, Emmanuel Nyadro, is portfolio manager for Absa, and then Andrew Sakoto is with, Forex, forwards and swaps with Absa. These guys are all with Absa. But to get more information on what they talked about today, and of course more, today's topic was just on the money skills module. There are a lot of other modules on the Ready to Work platform for you to learn from, all right? So the Absa Ready to Work program provides materials, okay? Materials that helps young people to, focus on their work, and of course, the people around in money and entrepreneurial skills, very, very important. It is an online training tool that helps members to get the opportunity to choose a path and pace to complete the modules at their own convenience. Now, the Ready to Work link is www.readytowork.absa.africa. Kindly log on to, this website, log on to the portal, and then complete the modules, okay? As I would also like to hear from you on our Twitter. Our handle is Absa Ghana. Anything you want to, tell us about Ready to Work, any information you want to find about the Ready to Work platform is on there. Just use the hashtag, okay? Put the hashtag in, click on the search, and then you find all the details on there. You can also share a 30-second video of your reaction to all the things that we discussed here today. The conversation is still buzzing on Instagram. The 30-second video, just tag Belamundi or tag Absa Ghana and put in the hashtag Ready to Work. We'll definitely repost. You might one of these days just see your video on one of our Absa platforms, sharing your thoughts on what you've learned so far so that the rest of the people around the world can also pick from it. My name is Eskin. They call me Rev. I'm with YFM. Thanks so much for staying with us today on the show. Make sure you stay on the Ready to Work platform. Website, once again, readytowork.absa.africa. That's African ICT. Good morning.
Everyday life.